Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Krankendau bringing you another Cause Monarchy cast. Before I begin our cast in earnest, I must tell you guys about streamlabs.com/Krankendau. It's a site you can go to in order to have a good time donating to me. And what do you get when you donate to me? My endless gratitude, and also you start funding our competitive tournaments. Now that Acropolis is over, we need some cash money for Weekend Wage. If you want to support that, feel free to do so. I will also be streaming a little bit more frequently, so you can also donate live and then get me to look at your chat message, whatever it is. Isn't that fun? And that's going to be at twitch.tv/Krankendau, and of course on this very YouTube channel. I restream to both. All right, let's introduce our players. We got Krankendau unactivated in the top right. He's playing Ascozi, guys. I had to look at this Ascozi versus Sziky Zerg game. Zerg versus Ascozi, the new race on display. Sziky is going to be our green Zerg. And he's going for his 8-pool strategy with a K-Grid afterwards, so he will be going Larvosk. And up here in the top right, we have Krankendau as the Ascozi. I'm going to say Glacial, but it was Aquamarine. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that, actually. Double Radix here, so not going for the landlock-heavy strategies versus Zerg. He wants that bio tempo that you get from the Biotic branch. And we are on Macroglia, a map by BiddyB. Later today is the day of recording, so by the time you're listening to this, it's already long past. I will be taking a look at some of the maps in our map pool for 1v1s. So you can definitely expect some map pool shakeups. I'm going to see if I can try and subcategorize some maps so that they're like, basically you go into like the class 1 folder or whatever and it shows you like macro or, you know, normal. I don't exactly know what the categories are going to be. Feel free to post suggestions in the comments as we evolve that over time. But definitely something I want to do so that people kind of know what they're getting into. Whereas like this makes really good games in Class 1. For it to be in Class 1, it's got to make some really nice games. But you're going to get something specific out of it. You're going to get a particular kind of theme out of it. So that's what I think we're going to do for organizing purposes now. At the very least for Class 0, we're going to be showing like maps that are, you know, already tested a decent amount, and so you don't need to keep testing on them, but if you keep playing games on them afterwards, it tells me that they're a really sticky map. And then there's going to be maps that still need more testing, so I'm not entirely sure what they'll be called just yet, but definitely something to think about. All right, so the landlock is already halfway complete, a little bit more so for Crank, going for that double Radix. He's got a decent stack of missionaries, and he will be easily enough displacing the initial Zeth scout. Obviously his Pilgrim was cut down earlier, and Sziky scouted with the pool units instead of sending a worker across. He's going to take a vantage point up here on the high ground and make sure that no Ascozi units are marching across. Although, he's got to be cognizant of the Chantry, and I don't know if Krankendau has been playing against Sziky with the Chantry strats. Function add later on. So this is already a little bit off standard, but that's okay. We're going to see what Krankendau is bringing to the table. We don't typically get to see function play, so I'm excited about what might happen in this game. We will have Sziky going for the hatch soon at the natural. I feel like his mineral mining is really all out of sorts with that first Larvosk placement, but he's up to the second one, and we'll see if it really makes much of a difference. That second expansion, or second base, already starting to pay out dividends for our Ascozi player. He's already got some Cardinals as well. I feel like that's a good way to make it so that the Vorv stack is going to be a little bit less potent, but we don't even have the Vorvs yet. The Vornath Pond upgrade for the pool only just started, so you can't turn your Zeths, your Zergling equivalents, into a heavier hitter yet that ensnares on hit when you upgrade it, so it's pretty good. We don't have like conventional upgrades where you upgrade all units at once or whatever. It's more like you evolve a particular unit into something better as Zerg, or you get access to other units that have like auras that make units more powerful or have active abilities that really well synergize and stuff. So Cause Monarchy takes a bit of a different approach than going for traditional, +1 attack armor upgrade and, movement speed on a unit or whatever. So it ends up being pretty interesting. Basically, your units are always going to have the same combat prowess, except for if there's like a benefit from a buff that's given to them through an ability or a passive. So that can be a pretty nifty little strategy. Speaking of nifty, though, we go a double upgrade on the pool. So when that kicks into the Calcure Lake, we're going to see a different story here pretty soon. The fact of the matter is, Calcure Lake means that your Quas are going to be more capable of fighting an armored army, because they can upgrade into Lyralisks, which are a different unit. And obviously, Sziky is just kind of soft camping this choke point, which Krankendau, using the function for the object, this guy absorbs incoming damage in a pretty wide radius around. He's basically protecting, like an interception ward or something, all of the attacks for nearby units. So the Cardinal actually stops taking damage after a certain point because of that, because the object was nearby enough. So a pretty potent unit, but obviously requires some positioning. Now we get a nice little benefit from one of the Cardinals jumping onto the allies, increasing their movement speed. Let's see if the Cardinals are going to be what powers Krankendau through. We already have the circuits coming up. The Lyrilisks are being made. Remember what I said about the armor. And look at that, the object very low already because of the attacks from the circuit. Definitely good connections there. I like the overall approach here from Krankendau, but I do feel like he should be reinforcing this position if he wants it to work out properly. And yeah, just like that, he wasn't able to empower the object with Cardinal heals, and so his units will be cut down to size. There's a couple of Lyrilisks that almost died there that didn't, so that feels a little bit bad, because he could at least regress them back into the quads, and then they wouldn't be as potent, wouldn't be as easily able to move across the map. But he's going to grab himself more objects. He already has 3, a 4th one on the way. His next, defense force, I guess, it's not really an attack force anymore, is definitely going to be more than capable of withstanding this assault. And the Grandstand's coming out on multiple fronts. The second one inside the main base, this is the defensive tower for the Ascozi. Has a few different modes as well. You can turn it into a detector if you need to. And the Vicars are going to be a splash agent here for the Ascozi as well. So the Vicar deals damage directly to the target with no splash, but then a little bit of a delayed attack afterwards basically kicks in and deals some small splash damage to a radius around the units. And so they're very good against air. But another thing that they do really well is they actually slow the attack target, like whatever they're attacking. So it's kind of like a good catch tool, but it does mean that like moving air units against like one Vicar attack is going to kind of pull them away, almost like a self-splitting irradiate in ZVT, Starcraft 1. So it's kind of funky the way that ends up working. But we do have some flyers coming out for the Zerg. So the Nathracors are by themselves mostly good for air superiority. As we can see, Krankendau not making any air units for the Ascozi right now. He's got his Cypher coming, and that's going to be more tech, particularly access to Tier 2. But a couple of extra units also coming online as a result. And he's going for that extra landlock. The Nathracors are being evolved into Calculisks, however, and the Calculisk is capable of doing line trace splash damage. It fires one projectile in a straight line, kind of like how the Lurker does in StarCraft 1, where it deals damage to everything along the path. But every projectile, it's kind of a funky unit. When you attack, like, say, this object from this little spire, it would deal damage to things in between its target, and then for every unit that it travels through, it deals 1 less damage. And, in case you're wondering, yeah, it only deals 5 damage base. But it attacks so fast, so rapid fire, and the splash damage is going to be consequential. Particularly, splash damage is a good way to burn through objects, funnily enough, because they're protecting more units than just one at a time, right? So your attack is dealing more damage as a result. So pretty potent, and obviously it can only be reduced so much before it becomes the minimum amount of damage, so no big deal there. For any enthusiasts in the YouTube comments, minimum damage is half in StarCraft 1, but it's 1 in Cosmonarchy, so considerably stronger, in fact, twice as powerful. Now, Sziky threatening to bisect the Ascozi position here. The Obelisk flies in kind of haplessly. It's mostly not really being soaked up by damage, and those objects are indeed being moved around and helped, strengthened by the Vicar active ability that pulls its units into place. The splash damage also coming into play there to clear a lot of those units. We probably didn't get a good look at it yet, but the Intendant has a splash or a bounce attack, which is pretty potent at dealing with more armored targets. But obviously the Intendant does not attack up, it only shoots down, so keep that in mind for all of you Intendant enjoyers. I should mention that pretty soon I'm going to be doing a stream where I do some balance adjustments to Cosmonarchy, so if you guys watched the most recent 1v1 tournament, Acropolis, number 4, you should definitely stick around and see what those balance changes end up looking like, because I think you'll be surprised. And I guess I'll probably wait a few more days before actively talking about the results of those tournaments and being like, yeah, and so is the champ. But unfortunately here, we do have Sziky. Unfortunately for Crank, I guess I should say, we have Sziky going on a raid. It looks to me like even though there's some units out and about and we have a couple grandstands over here, the Calculus could still activate later. And look at this, Sziky, master of multiple attacks, multiple fronts, going in for some heckling. This wouldn't happen if you had a Chantry, Krankendau. He's already going to have to pull those bad boys away as the ground army starts to linger forward. Now coming back in to attack the third base before those grandstands are actually made. A Vicar does exist in this army, but it's going to take a while before it really activates. It does look like at the very least the Natural is now free from that harassment. Krankendau playing this a lot more straightforwardly than a lot of Ascozi players have been, where he's just trying to macro up and build a lot of bases. But in this time, Sziky has taken 4 himself. We've got 3 circuits around this third base, and we do have 9 o'clock already set up, and with a small amount of mineral harvesters, that will only grow as 12 more are in production. Now some Xylodes coming out with the prosceniums done. These dyads are going to be useful for the Ascozi as they build faster than pilgrims do, both as power builders as far as like assisting, and also singularly building faster. Singularly, I should say. The Xylode provides advanced mechanical units like vehicles, and then the prosceniums provide advanced bio units. So the Aphorists are going to deal a lot of splash damage to the ground, but I do worry about the concentration of Calculusks here. They've all linked up together, no longer on separate attack paths. And they come in to do a little bit of economic damage, definitely doing a decent amount, clearing those pilgrims. We've got a pretty scary looking army kind of roving back and forth. A Vicar somehow snuck in through this side passageway, and it should just highlight how difficult this is going to be for Krankendau to have some navigation. But remember what we saw earlier, where the big engagement happened, the big attack force happened, and Krankendau, he was able to win the head-on fight. Really what's happening right now is Sziky is kind of patrolling and seeing what he can do. He's got that cloud of 13 Calculusks. Maybe he'll be making some more soon as well. Ultra Cores are being gestated back at home. We got a couple of Lakes, and the detection, it's actually absent right now for Krankendau. He has no detection at all, so Lakes could prove a problem. That's our Lurker equivalent. I saw one of them at the choke point for Sziky, but he doesn't have a lot with the army. In fact, doesn't seem to have any with the army currently. Now, no splash damage available here. That stack of Calculusks in the back is able to run roughshod over those defenses. Finally, we have some of those advanced vehicles, the Agonists, coming in, but they're mostly there for hit and run. They're not so good in a frontal attack force, and even though the army stands tall, the worker count once again reset a little bit. It looks like at least a dozen workers going down, but Sziky actually at a worker deficit for the time being, just has more mining bases, so a little bit more efficiency still. A better economy right now for our Zerg player. Really monumentally stepping up the Ultra Core count now. We're going up to a ludicrous amount. And what does the Ascozi have to try to focus those down? I guess there's a healthy number of Vicars, so there is that to consider. Meanwhile, all those Calculusks, oh man, for a moment I thought they'd all get splashed to hell. It does look like mostly the ground army is going to get wiped here pretty soon. And with this attack force continuing to lumber across the map, the Ascozi are not taking this a more quick-witted approach. They're not going for hit and run or bifurcating a bunch of options. They're just going to try to break down the front door. And I don't know that it'll work stupendously, but look at the Calculusks starting to all fall over there while the Ultra Cores lay waste to the front line. Oh, a single Lake is helping out. Vicars are actually slowing the Ultra Core down a little bit, and the splash damage is coming through, still ending up being supreme. Krankendau may have amassed enough units that Sziky's finding it a little bit difficult to handle. He's got more Ultra Cores where that came from, though, and you cannot count them out of a fight. Lake is still in this position. No detection available for the Ascozi. Remember, he's going to have to get right on top of those Lakes if he wants to actually reveal them, doing a lot of damage to the Ascozi army as the Ultra Cores bear down upon this raiding force. It looks like of the 7 that were sent, yeah, all of them survived, so that's a big difference between how the fight started. It looks like maybe the target fire wasn't quite there. A Dorminch has been made at the third base. That's going to slow units that try to move in that direction. A very potent unit. Think about, like, if you guys know the Starcraft 2 Wings of Liberty campaign with the Psi Disruptor that did the slowing of enemy units. Yeah, of Zerg units in particular. That's kind of what this is, right? So they have the crushing passive there from the Dorminch, the crushing sermon, but they're going to tear it down, and then they'll be able to really let it rip. And you can see how slow the Lakes are moving. They're really having a hard time, but no problem at all, as, of course, the Vicars are returning to the fight. We even have some Tetrax, which have the same object passive. Doesn't look like they have anything garrisoned in them, but that's okay. They're able to provide some value nonetheless. Getting on top of those Lakes is still proving to be a little bit of a challenge. And look at that. All of those Scozy units getting torn asunder, even the agonists. Again, they're better at raiding, a little bit less cut out for this kind of frontal attack, and we do have some reinforcements coming, mostly some more of the Zoryus. Economically, it looks like we're back down to a bit of an even game, but 6 o'clock is being taken by Sziky elsewhere, so we will be up to a 5-base Zerg here in a moment, while Krankendau just continues to try to hold on to his 3rd base. He's actually reduced to using his pilgrims to discover where those Lakes are, and even some more units misrallied at the top 12 o'clock, or maybe deliberately sent there because they thought maybe the Scozy had another base. Here's the thing, so we have a Fontis out, which is a pretty good unit to have at this point in time. But the Scozy don't have an army that actually reconstitutes their enemy units into the corpses of their enemies into resources, which really helps them remain competitive in a few of these locations. And this Fontis needs to make it to the front line ASAP, because every time it takes damage, you're actually going to have it be releasing a healing pulse for the rest of the Scozy army. This will be the linchpin of the defense if Krankendau is able to hold on, but the Lake is, oh, they are brutally murdering all those pilgrims. There's no new land to behold here. We've got 8 more at the choke, cutting off reinforcements, putting a lot of hurt on them, and the Fontis goes down as well. Can he focus the Ultra Core down? It looks like the answer is yes, but look at the cost. His Grandstand tumbles to the ground. The Lake is continuing to just eat units that are rallied across. I don't know if this Fontis is even going to survive, as those Lakes behind the mineral line of the 3rd are finally taken out, and reinforcements are pouring in from Sziky. I think this one is safe to call a wrap in favor of our Zerg. Starcraft 1 Pro from Hungary. Yeah, that Fontis is toast. It even tried to stand and fight, and that was never going to work out. GG! And with that, Sziky will take a game against the Scozy. A pretty cool little jaunt into ZVA from Sziky's side. Obviously Krankendau's not a native Scozy player. He's more of a Zerg guy himself. But I do want to know how Sziky would fare against some of our top Scozys, like Shopkeeper Dog in particular comes to mind. So maybe we'll have to organize something like that. Maybe we'll see if we can find a way for them to be online at the same time. Convince them both to play in the weekend wage that's going to be on the 8th of August, which we are looking to raise money for, as you can see in the top right. Guys, thanks for joining us for another match of Cosmonarchy. Be back tomorrow for another. GG.